think the metrics are great in that they're going to provide us with a lot of information about how we're doing, and especially in comparison to everybody else. Ever since we spoke about it during the elite training, like I've been thinking about it, right? Like how do I apply this in a way where I perform better and not make myself look more negative, right? Because like I guess maybe what I would need is like when we're ready to be roll it out more, like I think it would be great if I had a training, or we had a training on which ones are the most important according to priority. Because like I know that when I first started doing these surveys, my goal was, or when I first started getting these leads, my goal was do a survey, do a survey, do a survey. And I think I did a lot more surveys back then. And then now my goal has like shifted, right, to more of a, eliminate waste kind of thing. Like why send a survey to an SBS if I already know that this person's really not going to have the money to pay for it, or this is not really what they need. And so then I've kind of like started weeding out, for lack of a better word, some of those surveys, so that I think my numbers have gone down. But then I'm thinking that's not necessarily a bad thing, that I'm not doing as many surveys. Or is it a bad thing? And I think I'm just kind of like trying to figure out, okay, well, when we're looking at these numbers and these metrics, what is it that I really should be focused on, right? Like, do I just want to create as many surveys as possible, or do I want?
I think these are all great questions, David. I think it comes down to, and Mary, you can kind of come behind me if you want to, if I miss anything here. But I think it comes down to, when we share it with you here in the next week or two, I think part of your answer maybe just becomes evident at that point, because you'll be able to see, where you're performing kind of above target and below target and high and low. And then that kind of shows you, for example, well, I have several of my colleagues that are getting, and again, I'm spitballing here, David. I have several of my colleagues here who are turning a lot higher percentage of their sets and consults into boss surveys. So maybe that's something I want to listen to. And when they train on that, or when we have that topical conversation, whatever they don't address that I have questions about, boom, that's going to be my time to ask those questions. And I think at the end of the day, everybody's going to learn from this. Everybody's going to learn from it, and it'll be valuable. I don't know for sure, David, where you or each of us are going to, I know for me, I'm looking at that far right column. What's the closing percentage, right? In other words, who's, for the people that we talk to, who we're looking at. But I'm also then going and looking at the global percentage that says, how many did we schedule with this person, and then how many came out on the other side. And so I think the answer is kind of, they all matter, right? So in other words, measuring them in a way that says who's giving us the most output. Because if you think about it, right now, everybody's kind of getting very similar quality of lead flow, right? Over time, some of that will be segmented, and some of that will kind of change. Somebody commented on that earlier about how, that can be different. But at the end of the day, for every 100 sets that we give people, how many of them are closing? That's probably the bottom line, right? In other words, regardless of how many you turn into a survey, and regardless of this, that, and the other, how many come out on the other side? That's really your ultimate metric. So what matters the most is what comes out on the other side. For every 100, appointments that are set with me, how many am I closing? And that's the percentage that kind of, puts everything else in second place. But if I want that number to go from 6 to 8, or from 7 to 9, or from 11 to 13, or whatever, then for me, I'm going to look and see where's my biggest opportunity for improvement. And that's what the conversion funnel or metrics will show you. And that shows each of us. And so right now, you were on the call this morning, David, where, Jimmy shared his screen and kind of showed that to you. So you can see the early layout of what's to come soon here. And I think that at the end of the day, your number one metric is always, we gave them 100 sets, and here's how many deals we got. That's always going to be your key one. And then the segmenting of it is what allows you know, us globally and you individually to realize where is there the most room for improvement potentially. And now if I want to make the largest, you know, increase in my, you know, closing percentage that's global, you know, then here's the area that I might want to hone in on.